Okay, this is Herb Arico, Chair of the Wilmington Board of Education. We have a special meeting this evening, Monday, June 21st, 2021. And this is a Zoom meeting. The agenda is, there's a special meeting, so we have a call of order, and we have the Promethean interactive boards for Center School and Hall School and adjournment. So our main topic will be the interactive boards. I think that everyone received some of the information that you sent out, Phil.
Yeah, you emailed it today, what I have so far.
Yeah, and I guess you sent some things out today. One of them you sent on last Friday, which dealt with multiple items that are going to be purchased.
Yeah.
Plus some of the interactive boards. And I guess today you sent some more information out. I just got that, Phil. I just, matter of fact, I just printed it off.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go through it all, Herb, tonight. I just was, so if you wanted something to look at on your own, I can start with I found like a 90-second video. We haven't had very good luck with videos, so I figured it was worth a shot. I can speak to all these things, but let me start with this and see if share sound, optimize video. And can you just give me, I can't see you. Can someone just tell me if you hear this?
Yes, we're good.
Okay.
Promethean's Active Panel Titanium provides the most seamless and interactive learning experience available. You can create your own customizable user accounts with secure access to your Google and Microsoft OneDrive. The new unified menu is available anywhere on the display, allowing teachers to move seamlessly between content with a swipe of a finger. This menu gives you access to the Locker, a place where all of your app downloads from the Promethean and certified Google Play Store come together. The Promethean whiteboard is an everlasting whiteboard, loaded with colours, math tools, resources, dual user mode, 20 points of touch, palm erase and pen touch differentiation. You can even use the capture tool to crop and bring content directly into your whiteboard. You can also save and export to your drive, sharing files as you please. The new split screen mode allows you to halve the screen and work from 2 applications at once. Annotate over any applications or connected device, or engage and create excitement with apps like the timer and spinner. Screen share allows you to connect your whole class to the waiting room, so you can easily choose between which devices you wish to display. This allows for the display of 4 devices simultaneously with touchback. Touchback allows for teachers to wirelessly control the students' devices from the panel. If you would like to try it out in your classroom, give us a call and we'll roll.
So that was just a quick kind of 90 seconds, like crash. Here are all the amazing things this board can do. And I'm just gonna, let me just grab the other document that I had here. Share screen. Okay, so I can't see you all today. For some reason. Oh, I can't see you, but so this is, I put together, I took some of the information from the handouts, from our presentation that we've had 3 sessions with them now. We have one of these Promethean boards on site. It's at Hall School. We had a demo on Friday. I think it was Friday, maybe Thursday. They're blending together, sorry. And so again, this is something that I typically wouldn't bring. These items are expensive, and to look for large grants over $100,000, there's very few of them. They've happened to come this year, but they wouldn't be a priority for me over a lot of the other things that we've needed. And so having some funds left at the end of this year, this has been on our list for many years. We got the smart boards, and I believe they were from a grant years ago in 2004. We have only replaced a few boards since then. And right now the boards, they're out of warranty. You can't get support. So there's no more updates for them. So the issue with that is, as we have new laptops for staff or new Chromebooks, iPads, you can't connect to those, to the devices because it doesn't have the updates. The other thing, it drives me insane that we have the smart boards, but we also pay a license each year for the smart boards to the tune of $1,300. It's not a ton of money, but it's still money that we're paying licenses to maintain the software, but it's not being updated. So the functionality is really decreased for these boards. What I'll tell you is, these are the boards on the walls. They have projectors. The projectors some have been replaced, some are not. A bulb per projector now is $150 for one of these projectors. And I just almost feel like we burn money maintaining these, as opposed to thinking kind of future 21st century learning skills. So I asked Novus a while back about the potential for new smart boards, and they said smart boards are way more expensive, and they're using Promethean boards. They have some in Colombia. And so we looked at these, and our recommendation after comparing the two new smart boards to these, same thing applies. Like, the two boards are pretty consistent. A new smart board has pretty much the same features as a Promethean board. However, there's no licensing behind Promethean. You buy it, you get it. If there's upgrades, it's free. The training is free. That's not the case for smart. Smart boards still require the licenses per board, and the training doesn't come free with all these videos and things. So those are kind of two of the things that for us that stand out. As far as the boards themselves, they're interactive. You saw 20 points of touch. That means 20 different students could have point their finger on that board and draw something, and it would pick it up. There are tons of tools, line paper, graphs, charts. You can do clocks, geoboards, fraction bars. You can import documents that you can then annotate on top of. You can split your screens for either a video on one side and note taking, or you could even split your screen and have the same thing on either side. So students were solving the same problem on either side of the board. That's the split screen. These are ridiculously durable. I will tell you that during the demo, and I'm not kidding when I say this, the salesman took off his shoe and he hit the Promethean board with his shoe like 5 times. And we were all kind of like, whoa. So no concerns as far as the screens breaking, things like that. He said he does it every time and everyone's always floored. So there's super durable. You wipe them with a microfiber cloth. They do operate with Android, so it kind of it doesn't work as well with Apple laptops in our research that's what we've discovered. But we don't have Apple laptops. We'll have some Apple iPads, but because they're going to be new through the grants, they said there's not going to be an issue with it. So that's a good thing. The smart boards right now have like 3 or 4 different color markers, and they're marked by the color, and whatever color you pick up is the color that it draws with. This, you can pick it right on your screen. You pick the color. You can use your finger, a stylus. It was crazy. It recognizes whether you want to erase or not. So you just use your palm and erase, and it goes away. I mean, it was like 10 minutes of watching this, the use of this board, and you can see what we've been doing with our boards has been very limited because of the just inefficiency in where they're at right now. They're glorified whiteboards right now. It's tough. The other piece is this unit doesn't require a projector. So it would be mounted right to our chalkboards. and they have speakers to them. And we have some students that have special hearing aids, and we can actually plug. The folks were there on the day we got the demo from Netgear, and I had them test it, and they could plug directly into the TV, into the interactive panel, so they could hear great. These come with, and this is pretty standard right now. It's a 5-year warranty with 50,000 hours of support. Basically, what happens is with this, if they can, just like our service with Novus, they can log into our board if we have an issue with our warranty, and if they can't fix it, they will come and swap out the board. Again, no annual subscription. The professional development is actually two-sided. They have a live side that you just can book whatever you want. They said within reason, there's not a cap on it because they want people to really be able to use their boards, or they have pre-recorded videos, which is great. We have a lot of people that use document cameras. Those document cameras can also tie directly into this. So we got 3 quotes for these boards, and the cost of the boards alone is here. It's $113,463. It comes off of this right here. We have one board that we would get an adjustable mobile cart for, and that's actually at the music room at Hall. That way we could roll it out of there, but they would have it's the teaching space. It could be used. And I will tell you that the other prices that came in, this price was under $3,000 a board from STS, and STS is one of their platinum dealers. It's the highest level of dealer for Promethean boards. You're looking probably a couple thousand at least more for smart boards. And the other quotes that came in were for different companies, were the same board. One was 3,700 and one was 4,800. So because STS is a platinum dealer and they deal in more bulk, there's a better deal for it. So you can see, go back here. I'll talk about the installation in a second. This is just some of the stuff. Somebody asked, I think it was Donna, what's wrong with our current smart boards? They just don't do what they used to do. The technology has come so far, and with our laptops, it's a struggle. I mean, they just don't use them with what we expect a smart board now should be able to do. Back then, they were amazing. They've lived their life. That's why I said they're kind of glorified whiteboards. And I would love to get rid of the projectors. Every time I have to buy a $150 bulb, it sounds minimal, but when you buy you're buying $1,000 worth of bulbs each year, or a new projector at $1,000, it's a lot of money to put with an old resource. The other thing I was going to mention about it is when they came out on Thursday or Friday of last week, I asked if we have a couple that are on the newer side, 2017, I think there's 2. I asked if those would have any resale value, and they're looking at it for those 2 in particular. The ones that are older, 2004, they basically said you could try and sell them off for parts, but they didn't have any leads on that. So I'm not holding my breath, but they're going to continue. We're going to continue to look for it. The one thing that I was disappointed in was the install. Promethean, and where we would be getting these from, this STS is the one where we have it on loan. Promethean doesn't do installs. Neither does STS. So they brought an installer to give us a price to install the boards. Ooh, I see a mistake on here too. That says 75 inch and it's 70.
That was a
I'll make a difference. But one of the things that I questioned was, and Kevin Eichart from Novus we were talking on Saturday about this, because this came in on Saturday morning, and we both thought $669 for an install seems like a lot, but when we put together, it's a 2-person job. They have to drill every chalkboard and to put the mounts in. And these are heavier than our smart boards. They have to be done right. We would remove all of the old items. And then, so between their labor and kind of they're on the hook for the install, and the hourly rate, the $669 didn't sound terrible. Where we kind of gagged a little bit was this down here. They wanted $448.32 for the cabling, and that's basically, there's a ton of cables that come off the smart boards. These don't have a ton of cables. And by the way, these are Energy Star rated appliances. The cables really is a USB that you would just put a channel into the wall, and it would come down the side by the teacher's desk, and a cable would pop out. We called them today, and unfortunately, the person that did this quote was out on a family emergency. Kevin Eichart and I agreed that we would do that part ourselves, and not do that. We just thought that was a crazy cost. And it was like 17 grand to do channel work and run cables through channel. So we're hoping we're going to have more information on that. The bulk of what I'm looking for from you tonight is, if you're interested, is the 25,422 and then the 113,463.31. So those are kind of the things I wanted to go over. I don't think I missed anything. Let me just make sure I check my notes. Kids, you did see the thing where the kids can connect their Chromebooks to onto the screen. They get a code. We tested it out. It was actually really amazing. We were showing field day photos off of our phones onto their test Promethean board. So it was really neat. And then the updates can be done to each individual board. So you don't have to send it out. You don't have to install anything. Our IT guys can run the updates, and actually so can teachers. And we actually they're giving us, if we do this, they're giving us I think it was 5 years of a program that basically allows us to run the updates from a workstation. So Novus would have access to all of the Promethean boards, and they could force updates out at the same time to maintain. So a lot of things that our current smart boards just cannot do. I talked a lot. Elena has her hand up, and Ann has her hand up.
Elena?
Yes, I have a few questions. So you mentioned 5 years of warranty. What happens after 5 years? How much is going to cost us to service them?
So just the warranty is if the board breaks. I mean, I'm sure that the smart board that we have now had probably a shorter warranty, probably a 3-year warranty or a 1-year warranty. You're on the hook. If it breaks, you are responsible for your repairs. Just like we are now. Right now, if one of our smart board breaks, there's a good chance we have to replace it at thousands of dollars.
But all the updates are going to be for free?
Oh, yeah.
As long as we have them.
Correct.
Then another question. So where I'm sorry, Ann. So where are we going to take the money? What are we planning exactly? Are the money going to come from the grant or from leftover from the previous budget?
So you had over 500,000 left in your budget in your June run after all of the grants were applied. And so, like I said, I've had my list. That was in the bottom of the list simply because it was so expensive. But when we started looking at the age and the inventory of the smart boards, it made sense to bring this to you for a decision. This would come out of end of the year money. And based upon what I emailed you last week, and my number is still pretty strong, I believe that we'll return, even if you do this, you would still return about 160,000. It's going to be plus or minus because some money can come back and some things could happen over the next couple of days, but it will be around that number. And of that 160, I would recommend that you ask for 60,000 to go into the non-lapsing fund. And the reason I put that in the email, and again, this is connected to all the Promethean boards because it's the big picture cost, is that we're going to have, we anticipate an out-of-district placement next year that was unbudgeted. It's only 60,000 my request because there's a cap of how much money you can have in that account. But I would tell you, you would then use the 60,000 and probably an additional 40 to cover the cost of the outplacement without having to go back and ask for additional funds for the year.
Well, you said 500,000 left.
Correct.
And we're going to return, we are planning to return 160,000. So
Correct.
it means the boards will be 340,000 first?
No, the boards are, that's what I sent to the email, is I just highlighted all of the things that
Okay.
we've
Okay.
been going through. And a lot of them, to be honest with you, are repair things, boiler pipes, ventilation, things like that. These boards would bring it down to 160,000. The cost of these boards together is, I think, around 156. If you do that 669 install,
Mhm.
and I would recommend it because then we're off the hook for it, and they're responsible for it.
Okay. And, sorry,
right.
last question. So how much money do we spend now to maintain the old boards together with licensing for them? So how much do we spend for them now?
No,
Every
not
year.
a ton. I
Yearly.
think you're probably spending maybe 5 or 6. If you had to buy a new board tomorrow, a new smart board tomorrow, you're probably going to spend 6,000 plus. Between mount, install, new board, cables, you're probably looking in the $6,000 range to keep that software system that you have. A new projector is about 1,000 if you buy a new projector. But picture like the setup right now, because the boards are old and you put a new projector in the room, the projectors don't size to the board. So sometimes they're too big and sometimes they're too small. So you're not technically spending thousands of, tens of thousands of dollars on these boards for maintenance, but they don't do anything either. That's kind of the point behind it, is that you might as well just put a whiteboard up because they just don't do the work that they used to be able to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, but if we don't have to buy a new board, then the maintaining really costs nothing to us.
It's minimal. Yeah, it's minimal.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. You're welcome.
Sorry.
I had a couple questions. First of all, the 38 boards, would that put a board in every classroom?
Every spot that has a board right now, and that's the approach I took, is every spot that has a board would get a board.
Okay, very good. Another question, is this compatible with all the Seesaw? And I noticed they were using Google Docs,
Yep.
so it's compatible with all of that too, which is.
It is, and that's another thing is, it's even compatible to the smart board software notebook application. So they have smart software right now that they can use on their smart boards if it works, the smart board portion. So if they have saved lessons, they can actually import them into the Promethean board and they'll still work. But this
good.
connects directly, it would be set up so it connects directly to the person's Google Drive. And if they had a shared room and I came in and said, I'm always going to be using this room, I would set it up too. And I'd have my own account and it's all online. So these operate off of Wi-Fi and off of Bluetooth. So a teacher can be plugged in, or if they want to go to the back of the room or a different spot, they can take their, their laptop with them. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Another question, if we do build a new school, could we
You move them.
we could move them? Okay, and then that 160, would that go into our fund or would that go back to the Board of Finance? Our extra.
Go back to the general fund. So you'd put 100, if you return money, it goes back to the general fund and you would request the Board of Finance for some of that. And again, you'd have to vote on that.
Right.
You'll hear that recommendation from me
Okay,
with a very specific reason why. But that would be the decision then of the Board of Finance. If they said no, you would use what's in the non-lapsing fund to cover the out of district placement.
right. And we're using 60 of it to cover that placement from this year. Could we replace it with our extra funds so that? No, okay.
It's going to go into that 60 if they allow it. If you approved it,
Yeah.
and then they allowed it, that 60 would go into the non-lapsing fund, and the remainder that's the cap that you could have in that account.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Phil, the software that comes with this can you just explore that for us a little bit? And also, if we buy additional software, what is the cost going to be for that, for special purposes?
So I mean, the software that comes with it is all free, and there's tons of apps on the Google App Store that are free. If you buy an app, it's gonna, and you put it on every board. A lot of apps cost $1, but that would come out of our regular tech budget. But as far as the software goes, and that's what needs the updates. So when they, if you have a smartphone and they do an Apple update, and there's, the new update allows you to take pictures holding your phone upside down, but it takes the picture right side up. I'm just making it up. I don't know. You would get that when you updated your board, and it'd be part of the software. So the Android portion of it works with Windows, Microsoft Windows which is what we have. And it works with Google Chrome, which is the Chromebooks that the kids have. So if they asked us, do you have Apple? And we said, not for laptops, no. And they said, that's fine. Does that answer your question, Herb? Like what types of software?
But now there are some special areas like science area where there's a lot of material, but I wouldn't think that their software packaging includes something like that. I mean, we would have to purchase that, and science is just one of the areas, that would be covered that way.
Yeah, I mean, the teachers are still going to create their lessons, and they're going to use this as a tool. And it could be, an article that they bring in and they want to highlight certain sections with the students. It could be a video. But the hands-on learning doesn't go away. It's not part of this package. It's just what you're projecting to the kids. And, you could have elementary students working in stations, and they come to the Promethean board as a station, and they're working on, letter identification, or there's all sorts of things you can do. It also connects to websites. So we have Lexia. We have a couple different websites that we utilize. You can utilize those websites on the Promethean board.
Will it be compatible with all the workshops? Oh, I'm sorry, Herb. I'm sorry.
So are we planning to purchase any software to reinforce this engaging activity? Or are we just going with the apps that they have on the already installed in their software package? Doesn't seem to me that if we're buying something like this, we would want some enrichment of some kind.
There is one
above,
oh, sorry.
What they are providing.
The name is escaping me right now, and I'm looking at my desk because I have it in a list. Gizmos. We are purchasing gizmos through one of the grants that we got. I think it's ESSER 2, and the gizmos is another. It's actually science based, and you can use it. You'll be able to use it on the Promethean boards, but it's another hands-on. But and I can't stand saying that, because hands-on to me is not on a screen. Although they call that hands-on learning, the gizmos work on the computer, and allows you to pour materials and see how much of something you have. It's science-based. We are buying that, and it would work with this. But beyond that, there's no other things that I know of at this point in time. But again, teachers are creating their lessons, utilizing these tools. Right now, if you were to go into a first grade classroom and they're working on hundreds charts in math, they would have their paper. Well, you can put the hundreds charts right on the screen here, and you can manipulate. You can actually put numerous hundreds charts on, and you could send 6 kids to the board and say, pick one, you got to identify what the number is, and they would be able to do it. So it's just another hands-on, again, way of engaging students.
And the kids have their Chromebooks, and so they have, through that Chromebook, that have direct access to whatever's on the screen.
Correct. The teacher has to, the teacher can see their machine, and then the teacher presses and accepts them in. And I asked that because I didn't want the student next door be able to have access to it. And they said, no, you can't do that. So.
Now, if we purchased 38 items,
yep.
Is every teacher going to use them? I mean,
yes. Well,
majority, but
this would replace whoever has a smart board right now would get a Promethean board. So, I mean, it's, it's a lot. And, I mentioned last time, picture, I walk into Tracy's classroom and poor Tracy's got a 2004 smart board, and you walk into Michelle's classroom and she's got a brand new state-of-the-art Promethean board. I'm not putting those kids on a level playing field. And professional development wise, I have an issue because Tracy's like, well, I want professional development on Michelle's board, but I don't have one. And so that creates some problems too. And that's why I said, we could buy 8 of these under 25,000, but you still have 30 more to go. And so who gets them? How do you split them up? And how are you going to get the rest of them? And that's why I'm requesting the full 38.
Okay. And did you have a question or?
Laura, did you have something?
Well, I just had a quick comment, I guess. Being the elephant that I am, I did get one of the first smart boards back in 2004. I don't feel like I'm at the end of my life yet, but no, just when you were bringing up the other software and Phil was talking about gizmos. I mean, I used gizmos and still use them with my science methods classes as examples of simulations that you can do with students, and having it on the smart board to go through like how to do it. And then students actually run their own experiments with these simulations. There are so many programs or websites like that can be accessed with these smart boards. PhET I don't know if you know PhET. If not, Phil, for your teachers, PhET simulations are amazing and they're free. You don't have to purchase them. So that's that was kind of why I put it in my hand, just because I have direct experience with using the smartboard back when it did have the full functionality and able to do many of those things. Also, I just really like the idea that they have the built-in speakers, because thinking back to the issues that I always had with smartboards, it was things like I would hook up my own personal speakers when we were like Skyping with scientists and things. And not having the projector and paying for the bulbs, that is also huge. I can remember, we were terrified of turning them on and off like too frequently or something, that, we would end up killing the bulbs. Yep. And the connecting with student devices, that sounds like it's much more seamless. We used to use AirPlay. Yeah, and that was often a real problem. And for students to be able to display their own Chromebooks when they're doing a presentation, that was a really valuable part of having these smart boards. So, I mean, these sound great to me. To me, it's like smart 2 or 3.0, and definitely time to update them if all they're doing now is acting as a whiteboard.
The new smart boards do a lot of the same stuff as this one too. They were just more expensive. So,
Okay, anyone else have a comment or anyone that hasn't spoken yet?
Donna has a hand up.
Donna?
Yeah, so I have a question. Think back pre-smartboard, how did our kids do with testing and learning? Post-smartboard, how are our kids doing with testing and learning? Let me know.
you asking me that question?
Yeah, well, I would hope that you would know. I don't think anybody else on the board is in a position to answer that question. Because I feel like one of the challenges is we're always putting kids in front of a screen and expecting them to learn, whether the screen's at home or in the classroom is an individual screen or on the screen up front. It just seems like we're giving them so much screen time. And has anybody looked to see, even though these are amazing tools, and if I was in a place of business, I can see, I wouldn't even think twice. But these kids are supposed to be learning, not just being informed. And I don't know, how are they doing now versus then? They're all kids in Wellington. Our demographics, economics probably haven't changed a whole lot. Are our kids any better off because of the influx of technology? Are they getting the basics? Should we reassess to say that, second grade and up, but it doesn't make sense to do it with the little kid? I mean, I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm asking the question.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of factors that go into learning, and you have visual learners, you have audio learners, is the people that need to hear things. You have people that need to do things. But when we have visual learners, you need to show them something, and your ability to manipulate things on screen is a way to show students, a three-sided shape or anything that's or 3D, not three-sided shape, but 3D shape. You need to be able to show those things on a screen, and allow them to manipulate it too. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's on a screen, and I don't think you can point to test scores. I think there's a lot of other things that come into play. The curriculum is number one. Teaching methodologies is number two. So, I mean, the technology piece is an important part of engagement right now, I think. And it's part of what is kind of expected in a 21st century learning classroom. It doesn't mean you're always using it. It just means that you have a great resource to utilize to enhance your lessons and engage students. Tracy, are you commenting to that?
Yes. I have 2 points. The first one is I kind of look at these boards. If you haven't, I'm sure you've seen them, but maybe not seen them work in all the ways that they can. Before smart boards, you needed a TV with a video so you could show videos. You needed the overhead projector so you could project things to the entire class. You needed the record player, the tape recorder, so you could have audio. This kind of does all of that, but it also, the second point is education now, we look at more of as many ways that we can teach the kids in different modalities in our classroom. So with a paper book, with paper in front of us, with a video, with a demonstration, some kids need to hear it and see it at the same time. So this is another tool that allows us to do that whole group, or they have their own personal devices that they're using, their iPads. So for the second language learners that, you can have so many things that is much more than a chalkboard or a whiteboard that's one dimensional.
The ability to capture what you do that day too, if you want to save it and go back with the next day, you erase it off your whiteboard, it's gone.
Or class to class, because you have to,
Right.
switch to a different group coming into your middle school classroom or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing, I used a smartboard when I was teaching, and the other thing that's great is it's interactive. The kids can go up to the board and they can manipulate numbers and move things around and group things together. So it's very hands-on and interactive for the kids, which as Tracy compared it to a blackboard was not at all. The question I had before, Phil, does this work with all the workshop models? Will they be able to get all of the different workshop materials to go along
Yeah,
with
anything
it?
that's online they can pull up. So if they have online texts, they can pull them up. You're going to see more of the probably math lessons on here than you would see the ELA stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other comments?
I have one more question. What's the benefit to doing this now versus if we end up with a new school? I'm sure that, 3 years down the road that the technology is going to be significantly better. I mean, technology just does that. And then we have to pay again to have them moved and reinstalled.
The benefit of doing it now is you get the technology now versus not really having anything at all. You have a glorified whiteboard right now, and you're impacting that learning right now. I don't know that there's the other reason is that you have the funds. I mean, you typically don't get $800,000 in grants in 1 year, and we have. And so, when you have some funds left in your budget, I'm all for returning it, but I'm all for supporting our students and our staff and trying to provide them the best tools and resources to promote learning. And that's what I feel this is.
Any other comments? Phil, getting back to the engaging software that this board provides, I'm still not convinced that there isn't other material out there that could be used. And from what I'm hearing, we're going with the material of the software packages that they're offering, plus maybe what's on Google or someplace like that. But
are you saying
my experience with these is that there's a lot of software out there that can be used. I know that when these boards came in, I was just retiring, and I went through some of the professional development. I worked with the boards for a while.
Yeah.
But to me, that's an important item. If we're going to buy these, it seems to me that we would have an allocation and budget for the software and have more of an idea of what kind of software we want in each one of the disciplines that we have?
I mean, the software that it comes with, and it's not necessarily software, you have web access on these. So anything that's web-based, website-based, you can access on here. It doesn't have to be a specific, and if you have a specific program that you are running on your computer, you could also connect it and put it onto the Promethean board. You would be able to see it off your computer. I'm not sure that there's another software program that you would need for these to support the learning.
Which means you're not going to buy any other software. You're just going with what they provide and what's
Which
on
is, yeah, I mean, which is extensive, Herb. That's, you know, the reason you get these boards is because of what they come with. And you also don't, when teachers create lessons, sometimes it's not a software program or a thing you can hold in your hands. Sometimes the lesson itself and what they're putting onto the board and how they're manipulating it, what questions they're asking, that's what makes the lesson, not necessarily a specific software program.
Now, as far as the, a lot of the teachers already know how to operate these boards, but the company offers, you said they offer a professional development
Yes, correct.
program. Is that every year or just once we have it, you'll spend a couple of hours with us and that'll be it?
No, they offer, it's basically unlimited. And I asked if they would offer it in teams because, you know, maybe a first grade team is looking for something different than a seventh grade team. And they said they would.
Right.
They offer, and each summer they offer a 1 week Promethean camp. It's free. They offer it to anybody who has their boards, which is pretty unheard of. I mean, they stand behind these. These are in 1.8 million classrooms. So and they've been around for 20 years. They are not new. So they, you know, they know what their business is, and they also provide. They have a regional users group, much like there's a Power School users group in this area. There's a regional Promethean board users group, and our sales rep happens to live in Summers. And you know, he said, I'll connect you with whoever you need. And he said, you know, whatever you need for professional development, you'll either get it live or you're going to find it right away because we have a video for it. And again, that's usually where you get crushed financially. Usually you get a product for a couple $1,000 and then you know, they charge $2,000 to come in for 1 day of professional development, and then they walk away and you don't get any more. And that's not the case in this situation. It's another pro for me of why I support this product.
Okay, any other comments? Now, Phil, some of the material that we have, I haven't read it all over because I just got it a few minutes before this meeting started.
Me too.
So I haven't digested everything that you presented us with in print.
Well, I mean, you have, as a board, listen, your policy says you would need anything over $25,000 has to be approved by the board. You have the right to do that. Anything that's over $25,000, you need to make sure you have multiple quotes. I have them. I have a comparable product that's more expensive that I did not bring to you because I don't think it's worth bringing a more expensive product. And again, I brought this to you believing that this is something that the district needs to continue to look at teaching and learning and provide our teachers and staff with the proper tools to do it. And that's what this is. So the board has the decision in it. If I had, I mean, I could do a presentation for you, have this sales rep come in, but I'm not sure what more you're going to get than what I shared with you tonight as far as the number of hours, the things you can do with the board, you know, what you can do for teaching and learning with the programs.
Can I ask you questions?
Some of these boards costs up to what, $5,000 or $6,000?
Like 10.
10?
Yeah.
So this isn't the cheapest one, but it's kind of a medium price for school.
Yeah, and this is their smaller board. They have I think they have a 68. This is a 70, but they go up to 86, and you pay for it when in the price. You know, you get a bigger board, it costs more money. The smart boards with a motor, I mean, you could get a motorized slide with these, with a Promethean board, and you could easily clear 10 grand per board.
Mhm. Okay, Elena?
Yes, quick question. So if we decide, for example, not to buy them, what would you do with the money? Would you return that amount to the general fund, or you would spend it for something else?
Anything, your policy says anything under $25,000, then I could, you know, make the decisions to do it. Anything over 25, you could do. I could not spend $150,000 on one product like this without your approval.
No, but I mean, if we do not buy the boards, these boards, does it mean that we will return to the town more money?
Yes.
Or you have some other project?
No, you would return more money. I mean, it's June 21st. So, I mean, to identify, and really it has to be encumbered in 6 days. There's nothing on my list right now, and that's why I shared out my list with you. There's nothing on my list that's not even close to being in this ballpark. And you're muted. You can unmute.
The family's home, so I need to be muted when I'm not speaking. This is a wonderful opportunity. I think in any given budget year, we would not be able to make this purchase. And I think the only reason we can make this purchase is because we had so much money come in for COVID. In terms of if we waited until the new building is built, that way a lot of the money would then be borrowed. You know, it would be money that we, you know, that it would just make that building project that much more expensive if we waited until then to buy it. So I think this is a great opportunity for us, and off I go to Quietville.
Tracy?
Yes, and I agree with Ann, and I'm afraid, you know, we're still in the talking stages. We've recommended as a board to the town. It's gone to a committee. That committee is working on things, but we're talking years before we actually have a building that we can put Promethean boards in. And that's
If that ever happens.
a whole bunch of kids, if it happens. And that's a whole bunch of kids are going to miss out on an opportunity for this 21st century learning that we have given. And I look at it as COVID kind of gave us a gift, because we got so much grant money that we're able to even consider a project like this that would have not have been on our radar otherwise. I mean, it was on Phil's at the bottom of the list, but
Phil, I have
I
a
think
question.
Donna's,
Donna?
So you said we have about $500,000 left over, of which, if I added correctly, that list you gave us is $185,100. Does that sound about right?
I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head. Sure.
Okay, assuming that's right, that gives us almost $315,000 left over. I'm just going to round numbers. You mentioned that there's a student that's going to need to be outplaced in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
What is the formula for that to go from that $315,000 to what we are allowed to ask to be put aside in the non-lapsing fund?
Good question. So you have in the Board of Finance policy, and I can't remember if it's 2 or 3%. Donna Lisinsick and I looked at this. Is that there can only be, I think it's $61,000 more put into that account. And that would be at the cap. And it's like a certain percentage of the current budget.
Oh, it's a percentage of the budget, not a percentage of the money left over.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever it was, Donna, and I looked at it because I said, I'd love to put 100,000 in, and because it's going to come right back out. And she said, you can actually only put in around 60. And again, these numbers right now that I've kind of thrown at you, they're plus or minus. So it could be, you know, an outplacement could be 120, it could be 80. These boards, you see the number, I say we're going to return about 160. The books are still open. It could be more than that. It could be less than that. And so I know all of the spending that has happened over since your board meeting. I know all of those items that we've driven out of my office, but some of the smaller things, like there might be $100 here or, you know, $500 there. They're promotion ceremony things like that. That's not in your spreadsheet. That's not what I put forward. The things I put forward in your spreadsheet are really things that that was my holding list. Like, look, we got to do these things at some point. But let's make sure we have the funds to do it before we spend it.
Phil, can you just go over, just a minute, Michelle, can you go over the cost of installation again? Is that $25,000? Is that?
Yeah, let me pull that up, Herb. So this is another thing that I would suggest that you do. If you were going to make a motion tonight, I would add this number, 25,422, to the 113,463.31, and you would say not to exceed. Because my feeling is, I'm getting the boards from a different vendor, and I look at this person as a separate vendor, and we did not know that when they came out. So the other thing is I want to look at that 75-inch board versus 70-inch board. But what they were basically providing for that 669 right here, for the install, is all of our chalkboards. We would pull off the smart boards. We would pull off any whiteboards. They would come in, and these are heavier units. So they put in, they bolt them to the wall using this steel frame, kind of like your TV frame, but it goes through the chalkboard, which is crazy to drill, and into the concrete block behind it, and then they would mount the board. It is a two-person job. I can't imagine our staff doing that. It would take them months and months, and these boards are in hot commodity right now, so you know we may find out that these are weeks out. It wouldn't surprise me if you know we didn't have these for the start of school. We would have a good plan for install and to get it done. But where I didn't like Herb was this option. I just didn't feel like what I'm seeing there is worth $448. Installation of a 25-foot cable that goes basically plugs into the Promethean board, goes into a channel, basically goes down the wall, and the channel goes to the side over to the teacher's desk and comes out the other side. I don't see that as a $448 job. In fact, I told Kevin Eichhardt I'd do it for $200. You can get self-adhesive channels and run them. So that's where I struggled. That's why I say if you did up to 25,422 and we got another quote or two on this install portion of the project, that's where we also may save some money.
Did you check with
Repeat the number? What?
One of the things about this, I'm not opposed to this really. The fact of the matter is it's been around for quite a long time. What I kind of object to is this came up at one of our previous meetings, and we're presented with all kinds of material, which I have to admit I haven't read thoroughly, and we're going to be asked to, vote on this, and I don't know whether it would be better to, I don't know if we can postpone it, because our budget, we have to allocate most of our money by the end of June. So that is a problem, But on
Sure.
the list that you sent out to us on other items that you're going to purchase or you already have purchased is curriculum, $8,000. Here we're willing to spend $140,000 on this item, but only 8,000 on
Books.
curriculum for books and individual classroom sets. It's a matter of priorities, but I wish we had more time to think about this. I know some members of the board have worked with these boards and love them. They've had a lot of success with them, but there's some board members where this is comparatively new and want more time to think about it. But I'm not sure that we'll be able to, though, because this is the 21st of June, so time is running out, isn't it?
It's the reason I was working on Saturday to try and get all this information together. I mean, that's why you pay me as your CEO, whatever you want to call me, is to do this research and get as much information as fast as we can. I mean, from the moment I saw how much money we had in the budget, we've been working to get to this point. My initial thought was the 8 boards, and that was it. And then I just didn't think that was the right thing to do. My admin team didn't think that was the right thing to do. And we had a demo unit out with staff members that came out and tested them out, and they can see what these boards can do. So a lot of the things that are in, and this is, I'm going to put what you just said into a little bit of perspective. The funding that we have utilized has been from grants so far, has been either health and safety or curriculum based. And we've done extremely well because of those grants. So now I'm on to, can I put a water fountain onto a wall that has a water bottle filling station on it, so a kid doesn't not have to turn the water fountain portion on next year, and they can fill a water bottle for now. That's what the type of projects we're on to. And this project was not, it was on our radar, my radar, but not on yours, because it is so expensive. And I'll tell you, you want to know what makes schools cutting edge. It's this type of stuff. And these this type of equipment is kind of the expectation. Walk into a building where you just have a whiteboard now, and people notice those things. There's a reason there's this, and Laura might even be in it. I think she is. I have a framed poster in the other room here from when the smart boards were purchased in this district. And it was such a big deal because it was setting this district apart. And we were one of the first ones. And so, how do you do those things? Sometimes you have to spend money. Would I love to have Promethean come in and knock your socks off with a great presentation for you to actually see these boards in person? I would love that. But you don't have the time to do that. And to be quite honest with you, we barely had enough time to do that. So, I've had 2 online webinars and then 1 in person, and got staff feedback. And the staff feedback was, this is a game changer for what we have in our classrooms right now.
Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have no idea what you're going to do.
Actually, no, I was going to say thank you to Phil for waiting until you knew how much money you had left. Every year I ask you, what do you wish you had in the budget that you don't have money for? And you almost never tell me anything because you're like, well, we'll wait and see. In some year, we'll have enough money. Maybe we'll have some left over. And for once, it seems like that's the case. It almost feels like this is overdue. We should have invested in this a couple of years back. If the whiteboards are being used only as whiteboards and not really as smart boards, that the kids have been without this technology in every classroom. I had thought that they were operating, but not operating at peak performance. But to hear that they're in poor condition, I feel like you should have asked for this in the budget a couple of years ago. And the fact that we have money left over makes this, for me, a pretty straightforward question. You did give two numbers. You said the 25,422 number. Were you going to add another number to that and then make it not to exceed, or not exceed the 25,422? I might
So there's
fast enough.
Sorry, there's three numbers. The board, the number for the boards, the 113,463.31, $113,463.31. That's the cost of the boards.
Mm-hmm.
Install fee, where I think is acceptable for the work, is the $25,422. The one I'm questioning is the additional $17,036.16. I'm just not sure that's worth it. So you kind of have two options if you're going to make a motion tonight, and that is to either, I think if you add the two together, the 113 and the 25, you get 138,885.31 if I did my math right. Yes,
Yes.
885, right?
Yes.
You either do that, or you then add the 17 on top and say not to exceed. So maybe I'm wrong about the cost of these channels and the cost of cabling. Kevin Eichart and I both felt the same thing from Novus. We were on the phone on Saturday and said there's no way that cost is that high. We just felt like it was not accurate.
Yeah.
And if we get other quotes, Michelle, for the installation portion only, it doesn't change the board portion only. Obviously, I would go with a lower number, as long as it's a reputable dealer, someone that has done this work. So,
Okay. I agree with you on the handling the $400 each. That you can buy the molding, the wire molding, and hide the cord, and $100 a room.
that's what we said.
It's not extensive.
Yep. Kevin and I both thought $100 a room, $3,800 was fair, not $442.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
If we did not include that total, the large number for the thing that you discussed with Kevin for the cabling, would you still have enough money to, to install them?
You almost, if I were going to make a motion, I would include that number, not to exceed, just to be safe, because what if it turns out that there's asbestos behind the chalkboards or some weird thing that we don't know about, it's always to have a reasonable cap, and then if we can save the money, then we do. But
yeah, and it would be returned, whatever
And
it's
you give
not.
that to the Board of Finance, right?
Correct.
What we didn't use.
right.
Okay,
Are we ready for a motion?
you have a motion?
I have. So I move that we move ahead with the purchase of the Promethean boards at a cost not to exceed $156,000.
I second that, Tracy Anderson.
Okay, 166,000, is that your figure?
56, 156. Yeah.
Okay, I hear a second. Tracy, you seconded?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Do you want to add to that it is board and install? It's for the Promethean board and the installation of the boards.
Okay, if that makes it more clear, yeah. The Promethean boards and the installation costs.
Okay, that's a friendly amendment.
Yep, and I accept that.
Okay. Okay, any comments relative to the motion? The only comment I have is that I can see the need for it, and it's an opportunity, as Michelle said, it's an opportunity to buy these boards now while we have the money, and it'll probably provide our students with a form of education that they normally wouldn't get, and it's a good idea, really. The only thing I object to is, and I'm concerned with, is that we got a lot of this material kind of late, and we didn't have time to really digest it as a board. I mean, we spend a lot of time on other items that are much less
Yes.
is in costs and things of that kind. And it's unfortunate. We probably could have postponed this until after June 30th, but we can't. You know, we're in a bind. We either go with it or we don't. So that's where we are at the present time.
This is one of those things, Herb, that the board needs, once these are, if you do this is something you need to come and see. Once these are installed, that board members need to come through and have tours and see these buildings again with these in them, and let teachers show you what they can do with them and what they're doing with them. And the other point, I appreciate that feedback about getting things early, and Michelle said it too, that I have my list, but I kind of keep it tight to my vest because I don't want people to get too excited, particularly staff and teachers and parents, because as soon as you put it out there. But I do feel it's something that I need to start sharing more of, so you have a good sense of when you get to something like this point, that you have more of that information ahead of time. You might not have all the specifics, but if you had some more of that information, it might help you with your decisions.
And I want to echo my frustration because I called or emailed, I guess I called on Friday or texted Brenda on Friday saying, hey, let me know when the stuff's ready so I can pick it up. She texted me this morning just before 9 and said she was out on Friday, but she'd let me know as soon as it was ready to be picked up. I called at 3 o'clock saying, hey, I haven't heard anything. Let me know when I can pick this stuff up. And then I talked to Elena at around 6 o'clock and said, is the meeting canceled because I haven't gotten any information? So it just becomes unnecessarily stressful and frustrating. And I would appreciate it going forward. If I don't like stuff in dribs and drabs, it makes it too hard to keep track of. And I don't check my board email constantly because most of it is garbage. Very few pieces are important, and I just don't have the time for that. But I would like to not go into a meeting frustrated, feeling like I'm being kept in the dark for a reason. I would like to feel like I can participate fully, because I don't have a problem with the product, but I would love to be able to ask you some questions ahead of time so that or at least be prepared for the meeting so that I feel like I can participate fully. Thank you.
Fair. I think I finished it at 4 o'clock today, Donna. So
yeah, I got it at like 4:22 when I logged on to get on to the meeting.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed. Thank you, everyone. And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you all.
Are you a second? And second? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. We'll see you next month.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, all.